I temporarily lost vision in my left eye.
Yes, your brother is from Harvard, you are from Harvard, and Steven is from Harvard.
It's a baby shark, still a shark. So you.
Right. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, welcome back to Anandra.
And today, I wouldn't want to introduce because you can already see we have the Avanti Nagral with us, and we are very delighted to have her on our channel.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And
So, would you just kind of introduce yourself? I'm sure everybody knows you, but still, your point of view.
Sure. So namaste everyone. My name is Avanti. I am an artist and creator. I create songs, stories, and conversations around various things around society, societal norms. I graduated from college last year, and I have a younger brother. So that's a little bit about
Great.
it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So basically, me and Ansh wanted to actually, we've been following you on Instagram and YouTube, and we were actually very intrigued about how you're managing so much of work together with singing, with music, with social projects. It's completely amazing. And of course, what you are today, you might be having a certain plan behind it. Like, what did your high school go like, or what were your teenage years? What were yours?
Because now what we see is you launching new songs, you collaborating with influencers, but we don't know what goes behind that. So what you did in high school to achieve that? Because we think that Avanti Nagral is like now doing so much of stuff. Now she just entered and she did that, but we don't know.
So what goes behind the process?
100%. No, I completely agree with you. For folks, sometimes people feel like, oh, is this person's shown up on the scene overnight, but it's actually been.
That's the point.
No, for sure.
So, can you share what was your journey like as a high schooler? What did your high school look like?
Of course. So I went to high school in Mumbai. I went to a school called Cathedral and John Convent School. It was an ICSE school. Right before that, I'd gone to an international school in India. Prior to that, I was in the US. So it was a very different system for me, and I enjoyed it. I guess most of it was very welcome change because I liked how rigorous the system was and things like that. The one area which was a little difficult for me was Hindi because I didn't even know where to go, and I had to do like ICSE level Hindi. So 8th grade was very much trying to figure out how to get my Hindi up to speed. But I would say I was actually discussing this a little bit earlier with my cousin who's a little bit younger than y'all, and so when I was fairly young, I would say in my, preteen years and everything, I for the longest time thought I wanted to be a doctor or something in kind of the medical field. Part of that is because all my grandparents are doctors, so just, natural exposure.
Yeah.
And I also have had a lot of health issues in my life, and knowing that I've had access to care makes me feel like I have this sense of responsibility and privilege where if I've been lucky enough to have this access, how can we create equitable access for folks across the world? And then, when I was around both of your age, actually, I started thinking of it more in a zoomed out lens, which is what exactly is it about this that I like, right? And I realized what I liked was the fact that health is this basic unit of existence, right? It's a basic unit of productivity. It's also a basic unit of, any human's baseline, whether it's their physical health or their mental health or emotional health. And so I started thinking more critically about it and was interested in global health or public health more broadly, because I, at the time, had done a lot of stuff in the space of CPR and first aid and organ donation, and honestly, these things that you did not have to be a doctor to affect, but you could still learn about. And it wasn't like those were planned, right? So the organ donation thing, when I was 13, because I used to do a lot of Model UN in high school, and I was part of this conference where the topic was organ trafficking. So as a result, I got interested in, the general organ donation space and realized that India is very, very, very low on the map. And so started thinking about why, and started doing a little bit of research and understanding. The CPR thing was when I was about 15, And that was, I'd gone for a regular health checkup, and right next door, they were doing CPR training for their nurses. And it just looked cool, and I was like, oh, can I learn? And
Wow.
Right.
we've never taught anybody who's not medically trained, but why not? Because it's a simple life skill.
Right.
And then so once I realized how easy it was, I started teaching students in my school, and then we did it across
Wow.
schools and a bunch of that. So, I was always doing something in that field, generally speaking, because it was, what I had found, I was actually pretty discouraged in the organ donation space initially, because I remember as a, 13, 14-year-old being like, hey, I really enjoyed, I want to learn about this. And a lot of people in some organizations in India being like, tu bachchi hai.
Yeah.
Right?
They have that
Yeah.
attitude, definitely.
Okay, so I think that disheartened me a little bit, but also gave me the motivation I needed, that, hey, you don't have to be of a certain level of training or a certain age or whatever it is to make a difference. If you care about something, you can. And that was kind of always the motivating factor. The other thing that happened when I was 15 was I temporarily lost vision in my left eye. And it was because of a brain virus that I'd had, which essentially had demyelinated my optic nerve tissue. For like normal person speak, what that means is the insulating sheath on our neurons had been broken down because of the virus. And so I lost my vision temporarily, and it came back after a while, but this was right before my board exams. And the only thing that kind of got me through that was music. And music had always been a passion of mine. And, I learned classical music through my childhood and various other forms, did everything in school, music related, but I never considered it a potential profession. And in that moment, I realized that music had been really healing for me personally, and so could potentially one day have healing effects for a lot of other folks, it within itself. And I started seeing music as not just something I like to do, but as a potential vehicle for change, and so I know this is like a lot of specific information. You can stop me at any point if you'd like.
No, definitely. I want to hear more.
But basically, around the time when I was 15, 16, and when I mentioned, as I said, that I was thinking more along the lines of doing something in the global health space, like I, for example, thought maybe I would, I don't know, work for the UN or the WHO one day, or do something in that. And combine it with the arts, because I kind of realized the power and the potential of the two. Or something as simple as when we go see a film in theaters. I know it's been a long time since any of us have done that in India, but when you go see a film in the theater, right before the film starts, you have the, the anti-smoking commercial campaign, right? Which can definitely be much better produced. But the fact is that actually makes a difference. And, being able to prime somebody when they are in a situation where they are primed to be relaxed, as opposed to being preached at, in a more professional setting, often has more subliminal messaging and can allow you to imbibe that faster, if that makes sense, right? And so anyway, I saw all of this potential. And so for the longest time, I thought, okay, I'd do something in global health and then kind of do this. And then when I was 17, I took a gap year before going to college. Basically, I'd gotten into Harvard, and they allow for you to defer your admission. And I decided that I wanted to do that because A, I really wanted to explore music, as potential professional path, and just really see what that meant. B, I was a little burnt out, school can be crazy. And especially if you are trying to when you're trying to aim high, getting into whatever you're doing, the NEET or JEE, or trying to get into a foreign college, it takes a lot out of you, right? And so I guess if you asked me if I was 15, 16, 17, do I want to be a YouTuber and singer, I would tell you you're out of your mind. That's what I'm going to do one day, truly, because I never thought that's what I would do professionally, right? If anything, I thought maybe I'd work with folks in that space. But when I took the gap year and when I started seeing how much I just loved being on stage and the power of a potential platform one day, that's when kind of my mindset shifted to, I want to do this art first, or creative industry first. And if I'm able to one day have a platform that allows me to bring in these things that matter and in a very meaningful way, right? So actually partnering with folks, not just speaking about it or being able to normalize certain things that we consider taboo, then I would feel like I am in a space that I enjoy. So it's always been something I wanted to do. It's just I never imagined it happening in the format
Future.
that it's happening
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You know?
And
Sorry, that was very long. Hope that clarifies.
No, that definitely
right.
kind of elaborated the question, because maybe this was the main part of the interview. We wanted to know, like, what was your vision, what you are today? Was there a specific vision? Like you just told ki you never imagined ki you would be a YouTuber,
and
singer.
yeah.
So this is what happens. This is what life is. It's unpredictable. You might just end up doing something you never imagined. So yeah.
Exactly.
So could you please share how a day in your life as a high schooler went? So how did you manage your time as you went to school
Because
and then
we need to
came
beat
back?
procrastination. You have 1,000 different things going in your mind as a high schooler. Ki ye bhi karna hai, I want to do this. I want to be part of everything. So how did you manage that?
100%. And also you're going through puberty through it all. So that's,
Definitely,
even
to top it all.
I think to top it all off, exactly. So in high school, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was very busy and I was very like just focused on everything. You know, my classmates would definitely have categorized me as a nerd, and I enjoyed school. I did well at it, and you know, I'm trying to think. I would wake up at 6 a.m. every day. You know, we'd go on the bus, we'd go to school. I would do a lot of after school activities. So I'd stay after school for a few hours, and then I would do a lot of stuff outside of school as well. I had started performing theater professionally when I was in high school also, because we had one school play where this director really took to me and he offered me this role outside of school, and I was like,
Wow.
hey, why not? You know, so I started doing that, and then of course, because I was so involved with music and other things, I would be doing a lot of that, whether that was in the form of riyaz or practice or performing, and then all of these health-based initiatives and things took up a lot of my time. I was just busy, whether it was in school or out of school. You know, by the time I would be done with whatever, it would be like 8 p.m. I'd quickly eat dinner, barely see my family, then go back to studying. So I was just in the zone when I was in high school, if I'm being very honest.
That was great, amazing.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
Yeah. No,
go ahead.
All right. So I was like, that's amazing, like how busy you were and how inclined you were towards, you know, kind of doing something, not just sitting around, or maybe just doing something with your day and making it productive in any which way you can. Right. So
I wish somebody had told me at that time that it's important to take breaks and that it's important to also prioritize your mental health. That's really a concept I understood when I was your age. And I feel like if I had, maybe I'd be a little bit less stressed and high-strung, because I think it's really important to do that. We also didn't have social media in the same way, right? This was, I mean, I just turned 24, so this was literally almost a decade ago, right? When social media wasn't as prominent. But I'm really amazed every time I talk to teenagers today, and just the presence of mind they have, the exposure they have. I mean, both of you seem way beyond your years in a wonderful way, and so it's awesome.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much. I mean, well, how did you deal with procrastination? Because this is something we both really relate with, and of course, a lot of friends do too. So, how did you go through that? Even now, I mean, it just doesn't have to be in your teenage years now. How do you deal with it? Because there are just so many things going around.
100%. I feel like I've been using the same tool for over a decade now, so hopefully it'll be useful. It's this thing called the Eisenhower matrix. Does that sound familiar at all, or it sounds like some random spell?
Not something before.
Okay. So it's basically this 2x2 matrix, you know, so 4 boxes, which prioritizes things based on their level of importance and their level of urgency. So I have a YouTube video about this y'all can check out. Just type in Avanti time management or something like that. But in general, the principle is, let's say you have 15 things to do that day, right? One approach is you can just write them down, and in the order you've written them down, just do them. But often we don't end up completing everything because we've not prioritized them in the right way. Right? And then part of the reason we procrastinate is because we often leave the harder stuff toward the end, and then we'd feel lazy to even start start it,
Yeah.
it's all of these things together. I would say the first step for procrastination is if you start doing something, you'll have a sense of inner motivation to finish doing it. Half the reason we procrastinate is because we don't even start, right? We'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, I
Hmm.
do this, but then you don't even start the process. Once you've started the process, you're more likely to follow through with it, and this is for
Right.
everything. That's why people recommend, if you're trying to exercise, wearing different clothes when you exercise, because then you've already started the process, actually gotten in,
Right. You're in that zone.
whatever it is. You're in that zone, exactly. So that's in a general principle, but this matrix is essentially, so the first category of things you do is stuff that is both important and urgent, right? So you have an exam tomorrow that's important and urgent, therefore you do it immediately. Most people will do the second thing that is urgent but not important. An example of that today is notifications, right? Notifications make it feel like every single thing is urgent and therefore important, but that's just not true. It just makes it feel like it's urgent, right? So something that you can delegate, or something that, like, for example, if somebody's sent you a call or an email or something like that, some of them may be important, but they all just feel super urgent, right? And there's ways to manage that. Whereas the third category, which is what people typically do third, which is something that's important but not urgent, should ideally be second. And those are things you do for long-term planning. If you are a musician or any kind of creative person or artist, you will recognize the importance of practice, right? And I don't need to practice right now. It's not urgent. But if I don't do it, it won't build up those habits over time.
Yeah.
And therefore, I will end up procrastinating that aspect of it and then won't be prepared. Or it's like this focus on long-term studying and learning, not just exam aa raha hai to padhai karni hai, So it's about building those long-term things and planning out and scheduling things. And then the last box is like not urgent, not important, which could be, I don't know, scrolling on social media or watching Netflix, which I still think is a good thing to do, because often it's things that help you decompress. But if you do that before doing everything else, you will feel stressed out and you will feel like you haven't accomplished anything.
Oh, right. Definitely.
So it's hard without visuals, but I hope that kind of explains.
Yeah, but it cleared a lot of my doubts, like how do I have to prioritize my work? Like, yeah, it's really true. हम लोग start ही नहीं करते हैं. The things which are harder, we don't even start, but we still procrastinate about them.
Exactly.
So now I wanted to ask, how do you deal with people who are jealous of you? She's launching songs. Yeah.
And you are on such a big level right now. You might be having some other people, or maybe your batchmates, your colleagues. There might be like, some kind of jealousy going up between them. So how do you deal with that?
I mean, jealousy is a natural emotion, right? I would be lying if I said I didn't feel jealous toward other people. I'm sure you do as well. And so it's only natural that people feel that toward you. But you have to recognize that often it comes from a place of insecurity in their lives. And that's not something you can control, right? The other thing that somebody's jealousy toward you is out of your control. And so if you try to respond to it in a way that feels like you're being defensive or fighting back, it's only going to worsen that level of insecurity. So I've just found, acknowledging that it's a human emotion, people talking behind you, fine, but kuch to log kahenge, logo ka kaam hai kehna, you just have to deal with that it's a thing. And just like move with kindness, right? No matter what, if somebody's throwing hate toward you, jealousy toward you, whatever it might be, I found often just responding with kindness confuses the heck out of people, and really just is a positive way to react to a more negative emotion.
Yeah, there's a quote like laugh and let go. So just laugh at what they're saying and just let it go away. So
Exactly.
Right. Beautiful. And what would be your trip to that one kid who has lost his confidence in life?
I guess the biggest piece of advice is the only person who can bring that back for you is yourself. You might be motivated and inspired by other people. There might be people in your life telling you, work harder, study harder, whatever it is. But you are the only person. You have to really dig deep inside. Motivation is one of those hard things, right? Because once you lose it, it feels like a chore to get it back. But I find that you're always motivated to do things you enjoy, so let's say you love playing video games. If no matter what, you will figure out a way to play a video game, right? So finding enjoyment in things in life, again, is really important, and finding your passion in them, right? Let's say you don't like studying as much, but studying these few subjects will help you get to doing your passion later on, or whatever that might be. Kind of reframing things really helps with motivation, and reframing the purpose toward why you're doing something. The other aspect, right? So one is finding the passion, but the other aspect is the purpose. Why are you doing what you do? And what is the eventual goal? For me, it was always just recognizing, if you grew up with a lot of relative privilege, with that comes responsibility. And for me, that was in all of these spaces, health and social wise and whatever that might be. But also in general, the idea that we have so much to give and so much to give back, that was always my motivating factor.
Wow.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, right. So, since you've been, what was your journey, and how did you figure out, since social media has literally boosted up in these past 2 years, I would say, or maybe in 5-6 years, it's completely taken
Totally
a new turn and completely gone out. So how did you kind of figure it all out? Then how can you choose to be an influencer, manage studies, and also, kind of take music, kind of how you, kind of represent social messages through music, and you also using social media for that.
Yeah.
How did you take up influencing? How did you think of it as a career?
First, there's like a button. It's like you become an influencer. No, it's firstly, I feel like that word comes with a lot of weight, right? Because I truly believe it comes with a lot of responsibility and impact, and unfortunately, not everybody recognizes that, But I think that when I realized that there were folks starting to call me that, it gave me that huge sense of responsibility where it's okay, there's a lot of people. So what happened for me initially is I've always been into music, like I mentioned, and then, on the gap year and after that, I started performing professionally. So I would do a lot of stage shows, things like that. And I started releasing original music now. It's been almost 4 years. So around my first year of college. Yeah. And part of it was just I wanted to explore that space. And the independent music industry, is very different. So you can grow in different ways. So I would perform a lot of venues across India, and I've done, festivals like NH7 and all of these others as well. But during that time, in the past few years, I would say I would use social media, but I would consider it very much a portfolio dumping tool, meaning I performed here, here's a picture of me next to whatever, the bridge, things like that, as opposed to what I now consider it to be, which is a community building tool.
Right.
And part of that was because I didn't use social media personally. I made an Instagram when I was 20, and so I never used it as a user would in the same sense, with the exception of Facebook. But even that, I started when I was 17, so I never had the exposure. But this past year, I realized part of it was I wasn't able to perform live, right? And so I was really missing out on that human connection. And so I turned digital, and I said, hey, there has to be a way that same thing can be replicated here.
Right.
And, it can be building a community, no matter how small or big or whatever.
Yeah.
That was really the mission. And I'd always wanted to do content that was beyond just music, but I was scared to do it because I always thought, okay, I need to be more established as a musician, then people will care about what I have to say. But when I started doing, other things around education or, social conversations and lifestyle and whatever, people would come for that and often stay for the music or just be there holistically. And I've realized that, Gen Z, we like to understand a person holistically, and get to know them. It's no longer this mystery and myth of a celebrity that we care about. We want to know the real person behind that as much as possible, and so it's been interesting for sure. And I knew that there was potential in trying to build a community, particularly of young adults, right? But I didn't ever imagine how young it would be. and how powerful that would be. I for the longest time thought, okay, maybe what I care about or stand for or whatever might be attractive to teenage girls. I've been so surprised. There's a lot of teenage boys also, and people who are really just care about feminism, and they care about, menstrual health and things in ways that is really incredible to see. And there are folks who are bridging that gender gap, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. So just coming to an end, what tip would you give to us high schoolers as how should we manage our time and how should we focus on our studies and all?
Look, one of the things is, especially if you're interested in applying abroad, but also just in general, forget where you decide to go to college. You're not a robot, right? So it's important to be a student, and ideally a good student if you care about academic work. But what you do outside of school also matters, not just for colleges and the like, this idea of extracurriculars, but
Right.
also for yourself and your own personal development, right? Because today, the nature of jobs or the nature of work is not unidimensional. It's very multidimensional, very interdisciplinary. So you never know. Let's say you are, I don't know, let's say you are a chess player and you never end up playing chess professionally, but the skills you learn from that, the strategy you learn from that can be applied to so many other things, right? And so don't do something out of your life just because you're like, "Padhai pe dhyan dena hai, I need to focus on my, whatever." It's hard to balance for sure, but I often believe that when you have these other things you care about, you are not just so obsessed with your studies, and therefore it doesn't take away from that. It in fact adds to it, So that would be my main piece of advice, which is like explore all your passions and don't let anybody tell you you're too young to do something, because a baby shark is still a shark, so you have the power to do it.
Definitely. Beautiful. That was amazing.
And I just noticed, yes, your brother is from Harvard, you are from Harvard, and Steven is from Harvard. I was like, what?
Actually, I'm coming to you like Harvard in their blood. What is wrong?
Well, I met Steven at Harvard, and of course my brother is he's there.
Like, but that's really great. Your sibling is from Harvard and you are from Harvard. Like, wow. So, yes, thanks again.
Thank you so much. I am very, very grateful to you. Thank you so much for taking out time. It was beautiful talking to you. Amazing. It was truly amazing.
It was lovely speaking with both of you as well. And I mean, we are hoping to next year, if things calm down, plan a multi-city tour. So
wow.
But hopefully I'll be somewhere close by to where y'all are, and it would be awesome to see you in person.
Definitely. I would love to have you at Lucknow. We would love to kind of meet.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. That was beautiful.